And a very, very big warm welcome to Kate Magic.
Hey.
Many thanks for joining us today, and you've come all the way from Brighton.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
So what brings you to Bristol on this occasion?
I'm doing a dinner party. I'm really good friends with Anna Middleton, who I know you've had on the show before.
Yeah.
And we're doing a Royal Christmas dinner party tonight in Bristol. There's actually 2 spaces left if anyone wants to book last minute.
I would have been very, very interested. So I was looking at your post yesterday and you mentioned magic sparkling kefir mojitos.
Yes, Anna's making the magic mojitos.
Oh, with a sprinkling of fairy dust, no doubt.
Yeah.
But did she put magic sparkling vegan kefir mojitos?
Yes.
So why would it be unvegan? What's the ingredient?
There's 2 types of kefir. So kefir is like a culture, like how they make yogurt. It's like a living culture. And there's dairy kefir and there's water kefir. And it's like 2 separate strains.
Did you get that, just out of interest, did you get the kefir from Shivani?
Well, it's like a culture that grows and grows. So if you have it, you can just keep sharing it because you just get more and more to give away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've heard a bit about kefir, and I've tasted it actually, because I thought it was just done with milk and yoghurt, but then I tasted some that my friend made with lemon and honey, and it was just delicious.
It's one of the best things you can do. The gut is the seat of health. So you wanted to talk about winter wellness. This is a really good starting point because having a strong gut is like really, really key to immunity. So by doing the probiotic drinks, the kefir and kombucha, it's one of the best ways you can build immunity.
Because the way I see it, it doesn't matter what you put inside your body vitamin-wise, unless you've got a good digestive system and a good gut, it's not really you're not going to be able to absorb it, are you? Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
So Kate, you've been eating raw food for over 20 years and you're looking pretty good for it. You're also bringing up 3 teenage boys on a raw food diet.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's better for us to eat raw foods?
I wouldn't say better necessarily. I think, everyone's got to do what's right for them, but I think the more raw foods we can include, there's a few things about raw foods. One of the main ones is the enzymes in it, and when you heat foods over a certain temperature, then you're destroying the enzymes. And so when you're having uncooked food, you've got all the enzymes, and the enzymes are like the life force in the food, they're like the energy, the vitality. So that's the main thing people say when they do more raw foods, is that they have more energy, more vitality.
And I suppose that's the same with juicing as well. Cold pressed juices, they don't obviously yeah, you know what I mean, isn't it? And also raw soups and stuff as well. Just cooking it just below 75, isn't it? Or
it's 42 degrees centigrade.
42, yeah. So
it's the magic number.
It's the magic number, 42.
42.
Wonderful.
If you remember Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
I do,
42 is the
vaguely.
meaning of life.
Ah, right, I didn't remember that. Wonderful.
So how do your teenage boys, how do they get on with the raw food diet?
It's been really interesting actually. Obviously I raised them on a mostly raw, mostly vegan diet, so I think it's a lot to do with what they're exposed to, a lot to do with the context in which they're appreciating food. So that's the food that we had at home, and we're really blessed that a lot of my friends are into this lifestyle, so they'll visit people and be exposed to those kind of foods as well. Obviously my eldest son, he's 17 now, and when he was probably about 14, 15, I'm sure he was experimenting with other foods when he was out, but this is the food he eats at home, and this is the food that he really enjoys, and he's amazing. He'll make a huge salad, he'll use like a whole lettuce, or he likes potato salad, so he'll cook some potatoes and put that in with like the lettuce and lots of raw vegetables and everything.
I think very, very quickly, from a parent's point of view, I've got 3 children and they're different ages, and I can imagine, especially I've got 1 teenager. Obviously they've been brought up with this diet, but as they get older, do they have the choice of being able to eat what they want, or then you just guide them with the knowledge? I mean, how does it work for your family?
I really believe that the body has an intelligence, and the body's intelligence is just beyond the mind's intelligence. The body has this incredible understanding, and when you give your body what it needs, it keeps asking for that, so the body really knows what it wants. So because they've been raised with really good foods, they might try the stuff, but it doesn't feel right to them, it doesn't feel good to them, so they want what is the best that they can have, Just said I was staying with Shimby, who runs the Health Unlimited store in Bristol, and her eldest daughter is probably about the same age, 17, 18, and she said her favourite thing is to make a kale salad and put it in nori wraps, because that's the food she's been raised with, and she knows that that's the best nutrition you can get. So her body's like, give me the kale, give me the kale.
That's really good. And I think it's really important that you've got this community around you where, because I think community is so important because it's not just, you know, we're not just inspired by the things that are immediately around us, but the wider community can really help to support a lifestyle.
Yeah, well, that's why it's so exciting at the moment, because it's growing so fast. It's actually been blowing my mind this year how much more popular raw foods, and well, not raw food specifically, but just kind of clean eating has been getting, you know, with all the juice bars popping up, and there's such a growing awareness at the moment, and
There is.
that's what makes it easy, because you can have, I always say it's like there's different parts of you, and the part of you that receives the information mentally and understands and has the awareness of what the best things to eat are isn't the same part of you that then makes those decisions when you're hungry and you decide what to eat. It's a different part of you, so you can have all the knowledge up here of why it's good, but in that moment when you're hungry and you're in a shop and there's not much choice, you go for something else.
Of course.
So the more accessible and the more available this becomes, the easier it becomes for everyone.
But it's easier to make those decisions when there's a crew of people around you, like-minded people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Kate, tell us why you started eating raw foods and what made you pursue it as a career.
Yeah, it wasn't really intentional, it was just intuitive, and as a child I always liked healthy options. I grew up in the 70s and there wasn't many healthy options when I was growing up, but I always liked stuff like apple juice and peanut butter and kind of like the healthiest things, that were muesli. I liked muesli for breakfast when everyone else had Cocoa Pops. So it was just naturally, I always gravitated towards the healthier choices, and then it's just kind of developed as a career, because when I started doing it no one else was doing it, so then people would ask me questions, what do you eat, why do you eat that? And then I was very lucky to get my first book published in 2002, so everything's just kind of coming from that.
Excellent. And so the focus today on the show is on winter wellness. So how can raw foods aid us in creating optimum health during the cold season?
That's a good question. I wouldn't advise people actually to transition into raw if they're not doing it already this time of year, because this time of year is hibernation time, so this is when your body's slowing down and restoring. And then obviously you get to January and everyone wants to detox, but actually that's a really bad time to start doing a cleanse as well. If you want to do a cleanse, if you want to change your diet, the best time to do it is March, like springtime, because that's when everything's waking up.
And all this is intuitive, isn't it? If you listen to your body, you know this stuff. You know, you don't do one diet all the way through, or I don't. It's a cycle thing, isn't it? Just like life and nature.
It's like you wouldn't try and eat your dinner at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, your body has a natural rhythm.
Okay, unless I've been out clubbing all night or something.
So you shouldn't. So I'd say winter wellness, I'd say, you know, it's what we're talking about. Immunity is really connected with gut health, so making sure you have fermented foods, it's really good, fermented vegetables, the probiotic drinks, taking probiotic supplements.
Fan, I don't know about you, but I've only just started getting into this the fermented side of things and understanding more about it. I knew nothing about it beforehand.
Well, interestingly, on the Plate Date episode today, Sally starts to talk a little bit about fermented foods. But yeah, it is a bit of a, you know, we don't eat that many fermented foods in this country, so for us it's kind of like, what's that? You know, it sort of seems a bit weird actually, you know. So I know about a little bit about kombucha and kefir, but not that much. So
it's actually really easy to do fermented vegetables. So people know sauerkraut. There's also kimchi, which is a spicy Korean fermented vegetable. And I've just started doing pickled cucumbers, which is like the easiest thing to do. Do you want a little recipe?
Yes, please.
So if you could just start with 1 cucumber, chop it into like 1 centimetre, maybe ½ centimetre chunks, and then just put ½ a tablespoon of salt and put it in a bowl and put a plate on top of the bowl and put something to press it down. And if you leave it overnight, all the juice comes out of the cucumbers. So that's it basically. Then you put it in an airtight jar and leave it for a few days, and that's your pickled cucumbers. But they're amazing because it brings all the flavour out. So they're salty, they're sour, they're a bit spicy, they're a bit sweet, they kind of go all fizzy. Put a bit of chilli on, usually a bit of chilli powder.
And you wouldn't have to put water in, because cucumber is very much a very watery
water all
vegetable.
comes out of the cucumber. So if you're making sauerkraut or kimchi, the process is more involved, and there's kind of things you need to know. But to do your own fermented cucumber, pickled cucumber, is really so. And
what's the benefits of doing that?
Well, it's the gut health. So they contain these bacteria, which are the bacteria that we need to have in our guts to promote good gut health.
Okay.
Excellent. So what advice can you give to anyone who wants to start a raw food diet but doesn't really know where to start?
I think what's really important with the body is I think there's two things. It's simplicity and relativity. So the body really likes simple messages. So the more you can just really break things down and make it easy, the better the body responds. Which is why superfoods are really great, because you take a superfood like maca or chlorella, that's a single plant, and then that has so much information in it that the body can work with. Whereas if you're putting lots and lots of things in, the body gets a bit overwhelmed. Does that make sense? And then relativity is that there's no kind of end goal. There's no point where you're like, I'm healthy, that's it. It's all just a spectrum. So I think of it like a yoga practice, say. So a yoga teacher doesn't say, I can do yoga, I'm not going to practice anymore. A yoga teacher does her yoga every day, and a yoga teacher, someone wouldn't come to a yoga class and the yoga teacher say, well, you can't do yoga. It's just you accept where that person is and you work with that. So it's the same when you're changing your diet. You have to really accept where you are and then just make small changes over time and make it like a practice. So it works much better for the body if you just make 1 or 2 changes at a time and bring those in gradually over the months, over the years, rather than going, I'm going to go raw, I'm going to change everything, because you might sustain that for a month or maybe 6 months if you've got loads of willpower, but then you start yo-yoing, and actually yo-yoing is much worse for the body.
Well, that works really well with Sally Beer's stacking plan from the Health Hub, doesn't it? She encourages people to add one thing at a time as well.
That's how the body responds best. It doesn't like massive changes. You have to be really gentle. It's an animal, isn't it? We're just animals, so you have to really kind of,
I think of our bodies as, like we're the gods of our body, so our mind is the god, and then, our cells are, our cells are like all our little subjects, and, and they're influenced by the decisions that we make, So I do think that we have to kind of be gentle and sort of ease our cells.
I see it as our body's the transport of our soul. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't put rubbish in your car, would you, if you were driving or something? So you want to be at high, sort of working at a high level. And
I think that's one of the reasons why so many people have health issues nowadays, because it's like, if you're using the car analogy, it's like our body's a car, and it's like we're putting milk in the petrol tank, and then going, the car's not working, maybe I'll fix the wing mirrors, maybe I'll change the engine, maybe I'll get a new steering wheel. It's just you've got to put the right thing in your fuel tank, and when you put the right petrol in, your car's going to run. But if you're not putting the right petrol in, it doesn't matter what you do, your car's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your online living store, Kate.
Yeah, Raw Living, we've actually grown. I started it in 2002, and I just had a little shed in my back garden, and I used to get like 1 order a day, and it was really exciting. And now we've grown to be the biggest resource in Europe for raw foods and superfoods. So we sell all those things that are really hard to find. We sell a lot of really, really delicious, we import a lot of stuff from America, like really delicious raw snacks and chocolates. So we've got the whole range of like gourmet raw food, superfoods, hard to find supplements, all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Oh, well. And I saw you do those raw pies.
Chocolate
I love them. I really love them. There's just something really, really good about them, and it just feels so decadent. You can buy them in Harvest on Gloucester Road.
So we've got a lot of stuff like that just feels really decadent, but it's actually really, really good for you.
It's guilt free. That's the amazing thing about it, is you can have something that's extremely chocolatey and delicious, and it's actually doing you good. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And what's you've got something called Kate's Magic Bubble, haven't you?
Yeah, that's my subscription site. So it's a membership site, and people join it. So I put all my work for the past, I think, 5 years now. So it's lots of interviews, recipes, articles, videos, and you can ask questions on there as well. So if you're stuck about things, you can send questions in and do lots of Q&As.
Oh, sounds really good. So you're really, really busy, aren't you? Brilliant. So if people want to find out a little bit more about you, where can they go?
Google. Google Kate Magic. There's lots on Raw Living. There's a free ebook on Raw Living. So if you go to the homepage, there's a little button on the left that says free ebook, and that's a good place to start. Download it's about 12 recipes and lots of starter articles. And then there's also on the homepage there's a button that says Superfood Spotlight. So do a superfood course, an e-course that you get, free e-course that goes to your inbox once a week. It's got all the information on superfoods. And then obviously I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those.
And that's just as Cake Magic, so you just have to search Facebook for Cake Magic and she'll come up.
Yes.
Wonderful. Welcome to the other side of Health Hub Radio. We're in the studio with Cake Magic. Kate's one of the UK's best known raw food gurus and has been eating raw foods for 20 years. I'm sure, like me, she'll probably cringe at being called a guru. What do you think, Kate?
I wouldn't choose the term myself.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really our place to call ourselves that, is it? That would just be strange.
Well, I think everyone should be their own guru. I think that's the point of this, is that you tune into your body's intelligence, like we were saying, and you, we all have that wisdom inside of us. So what I try and do is help people find that and unlock that for themselves.
Totally.
Rather than, I don't want them to look up to me, I want them to look up to themselves.
Yeah, definitely, because everybody is unique, isn't it? And we're all on our own individual journey, and we're all in different places, and especially if we put things like reincarnation in the mix, this could be my 50th lifetime. Anyway, look, I wanted to talk to you more about raw foods. We've had a few questions come in from our audience, one of which was, how do I prevent weight loss on a raw food diet?
Okay, that's an interesting one. I think you've got to look at the balance of fats, and basically there's 3 types of fat that we need. There's saturated fat, polyunsaturated fat and monounsaturated fat, and it's really important that we get a good balance of all 3. So usually when people can't put on weight or they can't lose weight, either one, it's usually an imbalance of fats in the body. So if someone can't put on weight, it's usually because they're not getting enough of one fat, so their body keeps burning it up in order to try and make the balance. Does that make sense? So it's, I would look at getting a good balance of the healthy fats. So the saturated fats are like cacao and coconut. Right. The monounsaturated fats are avocados and olives, and the polyunsaturated fats are the nuts and the seeds. So to get a good balance of all those 3.
Okay, and avocado is obviously a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of avocados.
Yeah, me too. Avocado nut smoothie now, actually. Nice. So, I mean, with regards to, let's say, it's coming to winter, you're not feeling very well, the mind just wants to snuggle, wants to eat something warm. What would be, what does a sick raw foodist do, let's say?
Well, I think in terms of any diet, whether you're raw or vegan or omnivore or whatever it is, I think vegetables are the key thing. So having lots of vegetables, and I would recommend a diet that's about 50% quantity on the plate of vegetables. And if you're eating local, seasonal, organic vegetables, which are easy to get around here, then that's what's going to be doing you good. And actually, we talked before about the temperature that things stop being raw at. That
what was that? 42.
42 is actually quite warm. So it's actually the temperature that a jacuzzi is set to, a hot tub. So if you think of that temperature, it's like a warm bath. So that's one of the most common misconceptions about raw food, is it has to be cold. And actually this time of year I would really recommend making soups, making stews, and just warming them up really gently. That's
interesting you say that, actually, because it's a new thing for me as well, because I'm sure some of our listeners know that we also run the Health Hub in Cottam, and some of you might not know that we're running a Christmas market now until Christmas Eve, where we're selling organic juices, organic smoothies, chaga chai, organic hot chocolate made with raw chocolates, some of Anna Middleton's raw chocolates as well. But we're doing a raw soup down there, which is warm, but it's a warm a spicy Thai soup. Would you come down and try a bit of that and let us know what your thoughts are?
Yes,
after the show, that'd be lovely. Wonderful. Okay. Well, it's been really nice having you on the show today so far. I'm sure we've got a few more questions for you to ask. Fan, do you have anything there you'd like to ask our lovely guests at the moment?
Can I just say as well, while you're on that, is that the spices are really important. So when you put lots of spices in your food, that helps create heat for the body. So doing things like chili, ginger, garlic, turmeric, that's really important this time of year if you're trying to eat raw foods.
Definitely. I definitely think that spices are really important. And I think I naturally want to have things like chili and ginger, especially if I've got a cold coming on. Although this year I don't seem to have come down with a cold at all, and I've been using something called colloidal silver, and that's been amazing actually.
I haven't heard of that.
Oh, well, perhaps we'll talk a little bit more about that when Jo comes in, because she probably knows about it from being in Wild Oats. But yeah, I haven't actually come down with the seasonal colds.
Silver's one of the most powerful antibacterial agents, so it's destroying all the bacteria. So you can get it as a spray or what are you using, a spray?
Yeah, I'm using a spray.
Yeah, I need to get involved in that.
Are you just spraying it orally?
Yeah, it was one of our clients at the natural health clinic who told me about it, and he just said, oh, you know, whenever he gets a slight sore throat or a cough, he just gets this colloidal silver and sprays his throat with it.
Yeah.
And I was really ill last winter, and I got given some, and I started trying to use it then. But I think maybe by then I was already really ill. But since then I've been using it as a preventative measure. And I discovered that the way it works is it's kind of like they've got these nanoparticles of silver, and it actually kind of coats the virus. So the virus is unable then to replicate because it's kind of trapped in this silver coating.
Encompassed.
It's really good for anything orally, so like tooth infections, gum infections, it's really good for that.
Yeah, and as a singer, you know, because I quite often, you know, need my throat to be working, it's quite good, you know. I just spray my throat, and yeah, it seems to just knock it out pretty much straight away.
Just to let everybody know, remind everybody, if you have any questions for any of our guests, including Kate Magic, then you can always contact us via Twitter, BS Health Hub, or indeed Facebook, Bristol Health Hub, and there's all you have to do is just sort of post the questions on there, and we'll ask them.
Or you can text the studio 7528880. No.
Let's just forget about that. Anyway, well, another one of the questions that it's all right, I had that one covered. Another one of the questions that we've been asked this morning, which is quite an interesting one, is how is a raw food diet safe during pregnancy?
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying, I don't think it's a good time to change your diet when you're pregnant.
Okay.
It's not a good option to transition when you're pregnant. But surely eating as healthily as you can is gonna. What I really learned from having the kids is that the everything's set up while you're in the womb, so their taste buds and their food preferences are really set up when they're in the womb, so the better you can eat when you're pregnant.
I thought you said when they're in the room. There's the womb. With Jonathan Ross sort of thing.
The better you can eat when you're pregnant, then the more clean their preferences are going to be.
Definitely. But your husband, he has 3 kids as well, doesn't he? Isn't it 6 or?
My ex-husband.
Your
yeah.
ex? Right, okay. So there were. I was looking on your website, and was there?
We divorced 10 years ago, and then he's got a new partner, and they've got another 3 kids who they're also.
So he's spreading it out.
Yeah.
So, and also, I think it's worthwhile noting that someone that's doing a raw food diet, it doesn't mean 100% raw either.
No.
You know, let's calm down on this. What percentage would you say?
Well, that's one of the things I like about it, because you couldn't say I'm a vegan but I eat cheese once a day. It's just not vegan. But to me, a raw food is someone committed to eating a high percentage of raw. And actually, that's another interesting point, is that the whole thing of 100% raw is a bit of a myth, and really no one's 100% raw because it's so hard to ascertain. When you're looking at nuts and dried fruit and olives and cold pressed oils and all these things, there's so many things that aren't actually technically raw. So even someone like myself who doesn't cook their food and is fully raw, I'm probably only 95% raw because of all the little bits that slip in. If I have some raisins in something, they might not be raw. Do you know what I mean? And to be as raw as me is very unusual. So most people that are doing it long term, that are the people that are writing the books and running the businesses, even all those people that have made a lifestyle out of it, most of those people are like 70-80% raw. So I always say if you do 50% raw, that's brilliant. That's where you should start. That's
great stuff. But last question from me, I don't know whether Fran has any afterwards. It might be a bit of a simple question really, it might look a bit silly, but I was chatting to someone and they mentioned vegan wine, and I was like, vegan wine? I was like, how can you have vegan wine? And she said to me basically, well, what it is that it can be sieved through pig's guts or something. Is that true?
Fish, something about fish scales and
egg. That's like Newcastle Nuki Brown, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
The wine is raw actually, and champagne is raw, so if you're trying to be completely raw, you can still have wine and champagne.
I should hope so. That would be a crime.
It is true about them putting pig's blood into red wine. Yeah.
Is it red wine? Just red wine?
I think it's just red wine. And it was something that came as a real shock to me when I went veggie. And you know, and then I was drinking wine, and then someone said about vegetarian wine, and I was like, "What do you mean vegetarian wine? Of course, wine's vegetarian. It's made of grapes."
Well, go on.
What that highlights for me is how we often don't know what the journey is that the food is made, you know, from production to the plate. You know, we are really out of touch with that because we just go into supermarkets and we just grab things off the shelf, you know. And the thing that I quite like about the idea of having a raw food diet is that we're completely in touch with the whole process of the production of the meal.
And the supply chain is pretty minimum, isn't it? You're cutting down the supply chain.
Yeah. But I think whatever you're choosing to eat, if you're choosing to eat meat and dairy products and all that kind of stuff, the context of where that's coming from is so important, and to eat some you know, grass-fed, hand-reared meat that's come from organic farm is such a different thing than eating like sausages. So it's, you know, it's choosing wisely, isn't it, the context of your food as much as anything.
Absolutely.